Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. Today we are going to look at how to install RStudio and how to configure it the right way. Now what I have done, just go to your Google website, just search for RStudio, and the first thing you see is the website by POSIT, which contains the wordings RStudio Desktop. If you click on that, it will take you to a website where you download your RStudio and install it. So just a minute as we do that. So again, just to emphasize is that RStudio is not R. The two are quite different, although they are interrelated. R is what works in the background. It is the engine. But R itself doesn't have a very nice interface. So another company called POSIT has developed an IDE called RStudio, which is a nicer interface. And you can see the emphasis here. Before you install RStudio, you must have installed R, then number 2, you install RStudio. So we have already installed R in the previous video. Now we are going into installing RStudio. And if you just scroll down, you'll see RStudio versions for different operating systems. Windows, macOS, Ubuntu, the various versions, Debian, Fedora, Red Hat, and so on. So you choose the executable depending on your operating system. In many cases, most of us tend to use Windows. In fewer instances, we also tend to use macOS. So I think around 70% of the people use Windows. Around another 20 or something, 25% use macOS. So just select what suits you. Just in case you are a Linux user, these are RStudio versions for Linux. There are different versions of Linux, and you can even create it from source. These are source files that you can compile to create your own RStudio. And once you install RStudio, just go to your start button, look for RStudio, start button, programs, go to RStudio. When you click on that, you'll find something like this. You'll find something like this. You'll find something like this. And this is our RStudio now. Now the color, you realize we have 3 panes. We have a pane here that has some writings. These writings, if you remember, we also found them in our R software. This is the pane where we run our code. For example, you can say 1 plus 1. Enter, you get 2. 2 multiplied by 4, enter, you get 8. So this is a pane where the processing happens. Here, on this pane, it is the environment pane. For example, if you create a variable, if I create a variable, for example, a variable my name is equals to, and I enter, you realize that variable is stored in this environment pane. Down here, we have a pane where that has several tabs. A tab for files to show you what is in your working directory. A tab for plots. If you create a plot or a graph, it is going to appear here. For packages, the packages you have installed will appear here. In case you want help, your help pane is this one. Viewer pane, for example, in cases where you have tables, and so on and so on. So in this But in many cases we use it for viewing our plots, but it has many more functions. Now, one question that arises is that why is my RStudio dark while yours may be white or any other color, a light color? Now you can always change this color to your liking. If you click on Tools, come to Global Options, you find quite a number of options that we can play around with. My setup is as follows. First of all, I click on General. The first thing I do is to make sure that I disable these two. Restore most recently open project at startup. Restore previously open source document at startup. Just uncheck them. Restore R data into workspace at startup. Please also uncheck this one. Save workspace to R data on exit. I prefer to say never. Never do that. Then when it comes to the history pane, always save history. Even when not saving R data, I prefer to leave it on. You can see it is checked. Remove duplicate entries in history. I also leave it on. You can see it is also checked. So that is my setup. My setup is like that. Restore most recently open project at startup. That one I switch it off. It is not checked. The second one is not checked. The third one is not checked. Save workspace to R data on exit. I prefer never. Then the other two are checked. So that is my preference. You may have a different preference, but I have found that one always works for me. Then when I come to code, I don't do a lot of changes there. Mostly the tab width, I prefer to put it to 8. Then if you click on display, you can see I was on editing. If you come to display, I prefer to put on rainbow parentheses. Use rainbow parentheses so that when you put brackets, they are of different colors depending on their level. So please switch on rainbow parentheses. Then the next thing I come to is appearance. If you come to appearance, you can choose the appearance. We have two, modern and sky. We have the zoom level. 100% is usually good enough. Text rendering. How clear should your text be? The editor font. This is where you select your font. Now, in my case, I have selected filler code. If you don't find this font called filler code, please download it. You need to download and install some of these fonts. For example, in my case, I have installed filler code. I like it. I like filler code because it comes out very nicely on RStudio. But in case it is not available, please download and install it. However, there are many other fonts that you can use. You can just download any other font you may want to use. Editor font size, I prefer to go with 16. Line height, 125 is usually good enough. Help font size. Remember when we were looking at our pane here, we looked at the help pane. In case you want help, what will be the size of that font where the help appears? So that is the help font size. Sometimes I prefer to go with 12, but it works quite well. Now, when it comes to the color of RStudio, if you look at the color of RStudio, mine is dark because I have selected one of these mini editor themes. Again, your RStudio by default may not have all these editor themes. There are so many. The reason I have so many is because I have installed some additional themes. Now, check in the description of this video. I'm going to attach a script that you are going to run, an R script that you should run to be able to have all these editor themes. To be able to have all these editor themes. When it comes to panel layout, I prefer mostly to work with RStudio the way it is, but there are some people who prefer to change it around. For example, you could say you want the source on this end. Some people will prefer to have the environment down here. See? So, but in my case, I just prefer to work with it the way it is. So here, this is where you can rearrange the environment, I mean the pane. So this pane, you can move it from here to down here, and so on and so on. After that, you just click apply, but there are many other options. Like for example, when it comes to Python, remember RStudio can also be used with Python. All you need to do is to come here and select an interpreter. Let me do that. For example, in my case, I have Python as a Conda environment. Click on that, say yes, and apply. For those people who use Git for version control, you can see I have already set it up. Where is your Git? In case you don't know what Git is, please don't worry. That is not very important for us. And we have this for packages. Remember, we have always talked about packages. Packages are add-ins. Add-ins that add the functionality of your R. So you may want to specify from which source do you want to be installing your packages from. In my case, I have selected Global CDN. You can select, I think we have a source in Nairobi, in South Africa, in Europe, anywhere. But it is good enough the way it is. So that is RStudio for you, nothing much. I'm going to attach a script. You are just supposed to download it, run it. I will also create a video where I show you how to run it so that you are able to get more editor appearance themes. Just let me just play around with it. If I just click on that and apply, you see my editor changes the color. If I come to here, just apply, you see it is changing color. If I just come here, apply, the color is changing. So that is how it works. But just in case you are interested in more themes, please check the description to this video. And remember to follow the channel so that you get notified of new videos that I create. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.